As Angus Taylor made his rounds today, he was dealing with a leak from inside the former leadership of the coalition. I don't know if it's someone behind the scenes, I don't know if it's Susan Lee on her way out, but who cares? We will never know. Instead, Angus Taylor was forced to have to deal with what was apparently going to be an imminent announcement when it comes to immigration. You've heard this all day and certainly well ventilated this evening, with 13 countries, with terrorist-controlled regions. So maybe not everyone from all of those countries, but people coming from certain parts of their countries wouldn't be able to come into the country here. Now, the fine print suggested that it'd be for the first 100 days of a new government, but we'll see. The Liberal Party's proposing banning immigrants from countries like Egypt, Palestine and the Philippines. The proposed policy could result in up to 37 regions under the control of 15 listed terrorist organisations being designated. Also, Algeria, Egypt, Lebanon, Libya, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Palestine, the Philippines, Gaza, sort of a repetition but still, Somalia and Yemen. Have you had a look at the map of the world? You can see that it is very much centred in and around Northern Africa. This is a place that, among others, people like Bob Catter have been saying we should have the door locked, regardless of whatever the case is, for somebody wanting to flee those countries. Well, all of this was confronted today by many of the media appearances, but certainly head-on this evening when Angus Taylor made his first appearance as leader on the 7:30 report. Now, they didn't go for the normal low blow. There wasn't a lot of back and forth in fighting, but this was his answer to the policy when asked directly about it.
Well, that document, which I haven't actually seen, has no validity. As I understand, well, I know it didn't go through Shadow Cabinet or the leadership, and as I understand it, it wasn't seen by the relevant immigration shadows. So
what about relevant ministers working on a plan? Because we know that Susan Lee was working on an immigration plan to be delivered that was delayed after Bondi. Presumably this is it, isn't it?
So I can't comment on that. I think I've said all I know about it. I don't know the motive of the people who've been handing these documents around. I haven't seen them. What I do know
presumably the motivation is to damage you in some way.
Oh, well, look, you know, politics has all sorts of motives and I'm not going to comment on those because I don't know.
But what about the idea? Again, his response.
You do approve of the idea of more effort, more time being spent on the views of people coming from places like northern Nigeria or the southern Philippines or the tribal areas in Afghanistan?
Well, I think it's obvious that there are some parts of the world where we are more likely to see people who are going to bring hate and violence to our country than others. That doesn't mean you necessarily shut the door on those places, but it does mean you do the work to make sure the people who are coming are not people who are going to threaten our way of life. There will be some higher risk regions than others, and those principles will be in our immigration policy when we announce it.
Now, I believe that we've got it wrong over the past 30 years. You only get one chance to screw it up. On that hand, we may well have already screwed things up. But you only got one chance to keep the wrong type of people out of the country, and potentially people from terrorist hotspots, well, may well be part of that part of that particular cohort that we might be talking about as a sense of regret in 10 or 20 years. This will go down well with an awful lot of people, but we know how this will be automatically weaponised by a whole bunch of others. Wait, watch and see where it goes in the next little while. I'm keen to see what Matt Canavan, on the behalf of his bit of the coalition, think about this. But you tell me what you think. Certainly on Facebook today, you haven't been hiding. You can always just go searching for Paul Murray Live on the socials. But more importantly, send me an email, paul@skynews.com.au, or your say at skynews.com.au.